This is lesson 2.12, writing equations given slope and a point. So this is a little different than the 2.11, writing equations given slope and a y-intercept, because with 2.11 you are always given the y-intercept. Here you have to find it. So if we are given m equals -5 and the point is 2, 2. So notice that is not a y-intercept because the y or the x is not 0. So we're going to first, of course, copy the problem. Then our next step is going to be to write the form like in the last one. And our form is y equals mx plus b. And then we are going to do the same thing before, is we're going to plug in what we know. And in this case, we know the slope, which is -5, and then we know an x and we know a y. So in this case, we're going to fill everything in but the b. So we are going to plug in, so we have our y is 2, so 2 equals, -5 is our m, so we place that. Replace x with 2 plus b. So what we did is the this 2 went here, the -5 went here, and that 2 went there. So now our next step is going to be to solve for b. We want b by itself. So we are going to have 2 equals -5 times 2 is -10 plus b. And then we're going to add 10 to both sides. So 2 plus 10 is 12 equals b. Our last step then is going to be to write in slope-intercept. And so we have y equals, we use our slope from up here, which is -5x. And then we use our b that we found here, so plus 12. And then, of course, always circle our answer. So there's not, the steps are the same other than we add a couple because we have to solve for b to find that y-intercept. So we're given slope, and then we're given a point that the line goes through, but we're not given the y-intercept. So let's do another one. So this one we have m equals 3 and 8, 1. And of course, the first thing we're going to do is copy the problem. And then we are going to write the form. So we have y equals mx plus b. And then we are going to plug in what we know. And here so here's our m, this is our x, and this is our y. So in this case we have our y is 1 equals 3 is our m times 8 plus b. And now we're going to solve for b. So we have 1 equals 3 times 8 is 24 plus b. We're going to subtract 24 from both sides to get we get b by itself, and we end up with -23 equals b. Our last step then is to write in slope-intercept. So we have y equals, we use our slope from up here, so we have y equals 3x, and then our b that we just found, which is right here, -23. And then we're going to circle our answer again, like always. So let's go ahead and get a fraction one, because fractions can be a little bit harder. So in this case, we have our slope is 1/3, and our point is -3, 7. So we're going to copy problem. Okay, and then of course write the form. You're going to do some of these steps so many times that it's going to become second nature, and you're going to end up skipping them, which is okay. But we always want to make sure we remind ourselves of what the form is. We're going to plug in what we know. And in this case, our y is 7, our m is 1/3, and our x is -3 plus b. And this is where I'm going to go out here to this side note when we solve for b. So that's our next step, is we're going to solve for b. And I'm going to go out to this side, and I'm going to take this out here so that you can see this better. So this is 1/3 times -3, and because we have a fraction, we're going to work all in fractions, so we're going to put that over 1. And then we're going to multiply straight across. So when we do that, we end up with -3/3, which simplifies to be -1. So now I'm going to come back in here, and I have 7 equals, and I just proved that 1/3 times -3 is -1, so -1 plus b. And then we're going to add 1 to both sides, and we get 8 equals b. And then we are going to write in slope intercept, because we always want our final answer in slope intercept form. So we have y equals, remember our slope is up here, 1/3 x, and then our b, which is what we just found, plus 8. So let's go ahead and do one more. This one also has a fraction. So here we have m equals 1/2, and our point is 10, 0. So remember, that is still not a y-intercept because the 0 would have to be in the x. So this is copy problem. And then, of course, write the form. So we get y equals mx plus b. And then we are going to plug in, and I'm going to shorten that for this time. And so our y is 0, our m is 1/2, our x is 10 plus b. And then we're going to solve for b. And we're going to come out here again, and I'm going to show you that 1/2 times 10 over 1 ends up being 10 over 2, which is 5. So this is 0 equals 5 plus b. And then we're going to subtract 5 from both sides, so we get -5 equals b. And last but not least, we're going to write in slope intercept. So y equals, slope comes from up here, so 1/2 x. And our y-intercept is right here of -5. So there's just a couple extra steps. Reminder that the only time you're given a y-intercept is when the x-coordinate is 0. So anytime you have a point, you can always do these steps if you can't recognize a y-intercept, and that's okay.